A Different World might have started as a Cosby Show spinoff, but over the course of its 6 seasons, it established itself as a major success in its own right. We're taking a look at what the cast have been up to since A Different World ended. Lisa Bonet played Denise Huxtable, daughter of the central family on The Cosby Show. When the character graduated high school, she was spun off into her own show, leaving Philadelphia for Hillman College in Virginia. Denise spent the first season of A Different World navigating the trials and tribulations faced by many college freshmen, including making new friends, dealing with romantic entanglements, and most prominently, struggling to maintain her grades.
Denise Huxtable.
Yes, sir.
You live in Gilbert Hall and you currently have a 1.7 grade average.
I'm working on it, sir.
Bonet's time on the show would be fleeting, as a pregnancy led to her departure after just 1 season. She briefly returned to The Cosby Show, but creative differences arose, and she parted ways with it once and for all in 1991. From there, she embarked on a complex career, with notable roles in films like 2000's High Fidelity and on TV shows like Life on Mars and Ray Donovan. She's also been fairly famous for her personal life, first marrying rock star Lenny Kravitz, and later partnering with Game of Thrones and Aquaman hunk Jason Momoa. In an interesting bit of synergy, her daughter with Kravitz, Zoe, plays the lead in Hulu's series adaptation of High Fidelity. Originally, A Different World was conceived as a show about a white girl's experience attending a historically black college. It was retooled, making Denise the lead and her best friend Maggie Loughton the fish-out-of-water white girl. Cast in that role was a young actress who would go on to become a household name, Marisa Tomei. A military brat, Maggie was one of Denise's roommates, as well as a journalism major involved in a long-distance relationship. Showrunner Debbie Allen wanted Tomei to continue on the show in season 2, but the actress decided instead to depart, and Maggie quietly disappeared from the cast of characters. Tomei, however, went on to bigger things. 4 years after leaving A Different World, she won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for her hilarious turn in My Cousin Vinny, kicking off a film career that spans 3 decades. She was nominated for 2 more Oscars, for 2001's In the Bedroom and 2007's The Wrestler, and has plied her craft successfully in both comedies and dramas. She returned to TV in 2007 on the Dennis Leary-led series Rescue Me, and also had a notable role on Empire. She's even worked her way into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Aunt May to Tom Holland's take on Spider-Man. Season 1 of A Different World acquainted us with Whitley Gilbert, a snobby Hillman student whose stuck-up attitude was often played for laughs, in contrast to her more down-to-earth classmates.
I mean, my daddy's a judge and your daddy's a what? A dentist.
The character, however, proved popular, and when Bonet left the show, Whitley was moved into a central role. Her personality was also mellowed and given added depth, and her opposite-to-track romance with the nerdy Dwayne Wayne became one of the series' central arcs. Whitley remained involved with Hillman as a dorm director even after graduating, and ended the series married to Dwayne Wayne and carrying the couple's first child. Jasmine Guy was awarded multiple NAACP Image Awards for her portrayal of Whitley. This success led Guy to a long and active career as an actor, dancer, and choreographer, as well as a director of stage productions. She remained very active on TV, showing up on 90s staples like Melrose Place and NYPD Blue, before landing a lead role on Showtime's Dead Like Me in the early aughts. More recently, she had recurring parts on The Vampire Diaries and Disney Channel's Casey Undercover. With his trademark flip-up sunglasses, nerdy charisma, and rhyming name, Dwayne Wayne seemed destined for pop culture resonance from his first appearance on A Different World. The character started out in a supporting capacity, but became central to the show in season 2, fueled largely by his on-again, off-again romance with Whitley. As the years went on, he lived in Japan, became a math professor, and in the end, staged a grand gesture to win the love of his life. The character was praised in the press and remains fondly remembered. Kadeem Hardison's performance as Dwayne Wayne made him one of A Different World's breakout stars, and the actor has gone on to a long and incredibly prolific career in film and television. He's appeared in literally dozens of movies between 1992 and the present day, and scores of TV spots, including a recent reunion with Jasmine Guy on Casey Undercover.
Well, I don't know to whom you are referring.
Drop the phony Southern accent. You're not fooling anybody. You're not the belle of this ball.
Hardison also appeared in the film Paddleton and played a starring role in the Showtime series Black Monday. As funny as Dwayne Wayne was, he had too much heart and leading man charm to serve as a different world's classic fool. Fortunately, Ron Johnson was ready and willing to leap into that archetypal gap. An ROTC student and Dwayne's best friend, Ron fancies himself a ladies' man and is always up for a get-rich-quick scheme. He might not have been the most serious student, but he comes out okay as a manager and co-owner of his own nightclub. Despite primarily serving as a comic role, he did experience his share of drama, coping with a racist incident and navigating romantic travails with fellow Hillman students Kimberly and Freddie. Darryl M. Bell, who played Ron, jumped right back into sitcom work when A Different World ended, booking a lead role on UPN's sci-fi comedy series Homeboys in Outer Space. Unfortunately, the show was a critical flop and was canceled by the network after one season. Bell bounced back with a 3-episode run on The Cosby Show follow-up Cosby, but subsequently moved away from acting on a regular basis. He remained connected to the industry, however, through his friendship with Hardison, who cast Bell in his 2013 film The Dark Party. He also got a boost from his long-term relationship with Cosby Show alum Tempest Bledsoe, with whom he'd appear in the 2009 reality show House Husbands of Hollywood. With Whitley thrust to the fore in A Different World's second season, there was a need to expand the cast of supporting characters. Thus, we were introduced to Kimberly Reese, Whitley's roommate and eventual best friend. A biology major, she was employed at campus eatery The Pit, and also performed in the band Expression, managed by Ron. Kimberly was the center of a couple of the show's more serious arcs, facing a false alarm pregnancy and choosing to give up a much-needed scholarship due to the sponsoring corporation's ties to apartheid-era South Africa. After graduation, she enrolled in medical school and found love with a fellow student there. Kimberly was portrayed by Charnele Brown, who came to A Different World from a Broadway stage career. After the show ended, she did spot work on TV, showing up in episodes of Martin and Living Single. She also worked as a singer and a fashion designer, and the past decade has seen her enter the world of film production. She returned to the front of the camera in 2020 with an appearance in an episode of Fifth Ward. Most of the Hillman students on A Different World were your typical college kids, except for Jaleesa Vincent Taylor.
I'm Denise. You must be 26. Oh, I didn't mean that. You don't look 26. You know, you don't even look a day over 18.
Why don't we just start over?
At 25, having enrolled after a failed marriage, she brought a level of maturity to the proceedings that provided a contrast with some of her more fresh-faced classmates. A business management major, she worked part-time at the Hillman Library and as the assistant dorm director of Gilbert Hall. One of her central plot lines saw her in a relationship with Coach Walter Oakes, but that would end with the two calling things off at the altar. Jaleesa wound up starting her own temp agency and marrying Colonel Bradford Taylor. Jaleesa was played by Dawnn Lewis, who brought more to the show than her acting chops. An accomplished singer, she also co-wrote the show's theme song, a feat she would repeat with a little help from R&B group In Vogue for her next gig, Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Her resume is stuffed with roles in films like Dreamgirls and a metric ton of television work. In particular, Lewis found a lucrative avenue in voice work, lending her talents to everything from Futurama and the Boondocks to Rick and Morty and The Simpsons. Most recently, you might have caught her in a pair of reboots, as Marsha Langdon on the 2019 return of Veronica Mars, and as the voice of the Chief in Netflix's animated take on Carmen Sandiego. For many young people, the college years are about social consciousness and political activism. Such was the case with Freddie Brooks, who arrived in the season 2 premiere as Jaleesa's roommate. A free spirit whose mother was a 60s hippie, Freddie became a student activist during her time at Hillman, advocating for a number of different environmental, community, and charitable causes. That's not to say she didn't have time for personal matters, though, as she spent her early time at school pining after Dwayne Wayne, only to eventually end up in a relationship with Ron. Freddie ended the series completing her first year in law school. Cree Summer, who played Freddie, didn't go on to the most successful live-action career, appearing in only a handful of films and TV shows per decade. Her voice acting resume, however, is straight up staggering. She was already established in the business prior to A Different World, having originated the voice of Penny on Inspector Gadget. After the series wrapped up, she continued down that avenue, contributing her vocal talents to all kinds of classic shows: Captain Planet, Gargoyles, Superman the Animated Series, Kim Possible, Star Wars The Clone Wars, and Rugrats, just to name a few. Frankly, if you have enjoyed animation at all in the last couple of decades, you have enjoyed Summer's work. She's one of the most important and influential voice actors of the modern era. Introduced in Season 2, Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Taylor started out as a recurring character, but eventually moved up to become part of the main cast. A career military man and veteran of the Vietnam War, he had previously served in the same unit as pit proprietor Vernon Gaines, and remained martially minded enough that the students nicknamed him Dr. War.
Some people like to call him Dr. War, people who major in indoor-outdoor breathing.
Everybody calls him Dr. War, aka student enemy number 1.
At Hillman, he headed up the ROTC unit that included Ron Johnson, and worked as a professor of mathematics, which led to him crossing paths with Dwayne Wayne. Eventually, he ended up marrying and fathering a child with Jaleesa Vincent Taylor. Colonel Taylor was played by Glynn Turman, who had already been acting in film and TV for over 25 years before arriving on A Different World. He remained very active after the show wrapped. If you've watched TV or seen a movie in the past 30 years, you've likely caught one of his performances. Notable recent efforts include The Wire, in which he played Baltimore Mayor Clarence Royce, J.J. Abrams' 2011 film Super 8, Shonda Rhimes' thriller series How to Get Away with Murder, and the Stephen King adaptation Mr. Mercedes. Not many people at the college level could manage coaching the football, basketball, baseball, and track programs. But then, not many people are Walter Oakes. This colorful character was another recurring personality that eventually became a part of the main cast. A graduate student, he was a mentor to some of the younger characters and a peer to the more mature Jaleesa, with whom he would embark on a long and winding romantic relationship. Walter would ultimately depart Hillman to return to his hometown of Philadelphia and manage a community center. While David Atkins, better known as Sinbad, was a relatively unknown stand-up comedian at the time he was cast on A Different World, the show would serve as his launching pad to a prolific career. First, he crushed it in comedy, recording a series of successful specials for HBO. For 2 years, he served as the host of the venerable variety and talent show Showtime at the Apollo. From there, he was given the opportunity to head up his own sitcom as the star of The Sinbad Show, which unfortunately only lasted a single season.
In my opinion, you don't split up a brother and sister. Come on, you don't break up a family. Look what happened to the Jacksons.
That didn't serve to diminish Sinbad's momentum, however, as the actor has appeared in numerous films and shows since. More recently, he played the titular character's father on Rel, and lent his voice talent to Steven Universe playing Mr. Smiley. Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more Looper videos about your favorite TV shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.